Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today I've got a little haul video. Picked up some stuff here and there. We got some gifts. We've got some stuff from eBay, and we got a bunch of cool stuff from Kickstarter. So I thought I would show this to you here. I haven't been buying as much stuff online, so the haul videos from the internet are kind of slowing down. But I'm trying to make up for that with all the store visits that I've been doing recently. And I should mention that soon I'm going to be taking a special vacation. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to be going to some comic book stores that I've definitely never been to before because it's a country that I've never been to before. But I've already been researching the comic stores. I know I'm going to hit several while I'm in this country. So that's going to be a surprise for later. So we're going to have some store visits with hopefully some cool content, some cool comics that maybe we aren't so easy to find here. But that's down the road. For now, let me just show you this small haul of stuff that I've gotten recently. I want to start with kind of a cool book that my father-in-law got me. Thank you so much. He does look out for me and get me some interesting comics. And they know that I'm an Archie fan. So here's an interesting book. It's Archie versus Predator #1. Now, I bought Archie vs. Predator when it was coming out, so I've read the series before, and I actually don't have the series anymore because I eventually got rid of it. Or not all of it, but some of it. I kept a couple of the covers that I liked. I had the regular cover for issue 1, but I also had the Francavilla 1 in 30 chase variant, which is one of the only times I've ever paid extra for one of those chase variants. But this isn't either of those versions. This is actually a version that I've never heard of before. So this is what makes this so interesting. Again, a thank you for my father-in-law for sending it to me, because this one is a special issue #1. You can see down here that it's a special version that was made for Books A Million and their sister store, Second and Charles, which I'm pretty sure is where he got this, because last time I went to visit them, we went to a Second and Charles and looked through the giant comic book section there, right? So this is an interesting variant, and what I find particularly interesting, because I'm a total dork, but I know some of you will appreciate this. I know Metarog, if you're watching this is the sort of thing you'll appreciate. I looked inside, and it actually has a different indicia than the regular version. It's not just an Archie vs. Predator #1. The indicia says Archie vs. Predator #1, comma, Books A Million edition. So the Books A Million edition of Archie vs. Predator #1 gets its own separate indicia listing. And it's a different image. It's also by Francesco Francavilla, but it's not the chase variant version that he did. So it's an all-new Francavilla cover, and it has this logo down here to differentiate it. Now, I have no idea how rare these are. I don't think it's particularly valuable, but it's really interesting. It would be really interesting to learn how many of these were printed, what kind of deal they had with Books A Million and Second and Charles to create these and have them sold exclusively through those stores. So very interesting to me. And that's the sort of like fun sort of stuff about these variants. I don't collect as many of these as Metarog does, but if you're interested in weird variants, you definitely want to check out Metarog's channel. But I'm still interested in them, so this was a cool sort of offbeat rarity that I wasn't expecting to get. So again, thank you very much. I also want to show something I got from eBay, and this will come, I guess, as no surprise to anybody who's been watching my channel. I recently did a 1,000 subscriber giveaway, and one of the comics that I gave away was an Avengers #300 that was signed by both Stan Lee and Walt Simonson. Now, as you know, if you've watched a lot of my videos, or if you've looked at my shirt, when it comes to superhero books, Avengers is my favorite title, and I have a complete run of Avengers. So, since I gave away my issue 300, the one that I bought personally off the stands and personally had signed by both of those creators, there was a hole in my collection. And we can't have that. So, this is a pretty simple purchase. It was just a replacement copy of Avengers 300. Now, I didn't look real closely at the listing when I got it, and you know, the conditions okay. I was just getting whatever was cheapest because whatever, it's for me to read. But when I got this, I noticed that it's horribly miscut. So the miswrap, like it's fine at the wrap is correct at the bottom, and then it really gets way out of wrap here. And so as a result, look at the miscut on the top. Like that's Charlton level of incompetence when it came to wrapping this comic. So anyway, this is just my replacement copy for Avengers 300. So it doesn't really matter, but it was just kind of funny like how badly that was done. So here's a bunch of stuff that I got off of Kickstarter. As you know, I do a lot of books on Kickstarter. In fact, my current comic, Quest number 3, is the Kickstarter is ending in just a couple days, right? So Friday, I'll be doing a live stream Friday to celebrate the end of the campaign. Hopefully celebrate. Either way, we're going to count down the last hour, but we still have work to do. It's not funded yet, right? So I don't know how it's going to go. All of my previous Kickstarters have funded. I'm not so sure about this one, even though I love the comic, and this was like the story for this series, this fantasy series Quest that I've been like waiting to do. Right from the beginning, I was like, I can't wait to get to the story issue 3. So I'm hoping that it funds because I really want to share that. Anyway, the link's down below. Got on a bit of a digression. I end up spending a lot of money anytime I'm live on Kickstarter because then I'm like cross-promoting with the other creators and I see all of their projects and I end up buying them because they're all so cool, right? So it's a little counterproductive. Every time I go on there to raise money for my own comics, I end up buying a bunch of other people's comics. But the plus side is I end up reading a bunch of cool comics. So here is a special variant edition of Miskatonic High number 21. Now this has a reference. If you've seen the movie Reanimator, I just lost my train of thought. I was trying to remember the character's name from Reanimator. But if you've seen the movie or if you read the Lovecraft story, you'll get the reference. And that's actually that character, Hubert West, maybe. I have read this, but it's been a little while actually since I got it. So anyway, if you're a fan of Lovecraft or whatever, you'll recognize the reference, and that character is in this story, and that's what this is about. And I love this sort of retro feel. So it looks kind of like an old like a sleazy paperback book. I love that sort of design, right? So it's a little tricky because almost all of my other copies of Miskatonic High have the regular logo, and you don't want to mess that up. But I do already have one version where I have a variant with a different logo. So I figured, well, I've already messed up the symmetry of my set. And the important thing is the cool stories inside. So sometime soon I'll be getting in the mail issue 22, which is the last part of this current arc. I was hoping to show them both off at the same time. But I've got enough other stuff that I figured let's just do the video. But as you know, I'm a big fan of Miskatonic High. It's an incredible, like, real achievement. 22 issues, all through Kickstarter, putting out like 5 a year. Really fun story, like clockwork. So again, check out that. They're always either live with something or about to go live. So you can get in on that anytime. Couple cool projects here that are more in the public domain. This next one's not exactly public domain, but public domain superhero sort of field. Revival of classic superheroes. And this is called Shield Master Blast of the Past. So a lot of fun things about this. First of all, as you can see, it's an homage cover with an homage to the Superman versus Muhammad Ali. But it's been updated. The cover's by Joe Rubinstein, I think. Yeah, it's by Joe Rubinstein, and it's been updated with like today's celebrities rather than ones from the 70s. So you can see like Leonardo DiCaprio and Mike Tyson's there. And if you look at the whole book, like the whole wraparound, you can recognize like here's Angelina Jolie and everybody. Again, it is a wraparound. You'll recognize most of the stars, right? So that's fun. And then we have two versions of the Shield fighting. So if you look at the credits up here, you can see it's, well, hold on, it's not in focus. You can see, maybe you can see that it's credited to Simon and Simon, not the super cool brother detectives from the 80s, because that was a great show. That was, as a kid, I loved Simon and Simon. But no, actually, this is from the family of Joe Simon. So again, I'm a little hazy. I don't think some of these characters are maybe all in the public domain, but the Simon estate owns certain rights to some of them. And this is a revival of Joe Simon's characters, and it's being done by his son and his grandson. So his grandson, Jesse, is sort of the driving force behind the Shield revival. And this is a story where it's very meta, but basically the Shield and the two Simons end up time traveling to the 60s, where they run into the Silver Age Shield, but they also run into Joe Simon. And so there's like, it's very sort of touching sequence where they see their father and grandfather and they have a moment together and stuff. And, you know, it's really nice. And I love that Jesse Simon is carrying on the family legacy and is, you know, honoring the great Joe Simon's work in comics. So it just seemed like a really cool project. I haven't yet read the regular series. This is a one-shot that sort of takes place alongside an ongoing Shield series that he's doing. It's called Shield Master is their version, because I think Shield is trademarked by Archie right now. But anyway, it's really cool. So I wanted to get that. I've showed off issues of Super Heresies Showcase before. So I had the Super Heresies Showcase 1971 that I showed last year. And this is part of this very specific but very cool genre of Golden Age public domain characters being revived in a Bronze Age 1970s style. And there's a number of actually different publishers that are doing different variations of that. Super Heresies Showcase, last time I had 1971. This is 1974. And this one has some female characters from the Golden Age sort of being brought into the early 70s with sort of the Bronze Age women's lib aesthetic. There's a bit of a funny story. I can show you this cover because while there's some suggested nudity, there's no actual nudity on the cover. But you can see that our heroines here are both taking their shirts off. I literally didn't notice that. There's two versions of the covers. This is sort of the mature variant cover because these sort of things do sell very well on Kickstarter. The sort of cheesecake. And but I just like the way it was drawn better, right? And you know, the women, they've got their fists up and stuff. I literally didn't even notice that they were taking their shirts off until the campaign was over. And then I was like, ooh, I accidentally bought like the more explicit mature version purely by accident. I have to be the only backer on Kickstarter buying TNA covers that didn't even realize that was happening. But Joseph Dewis does that. I've had him on here before. We did an interview about Super Heresies Showcase. I think we might have talked about this issue actually. And I love this sort of the idea behind the series and what he's doing with some of the characters. Is very fun sort of Bronze Age aesthetic for these. So I wanted to support that. And then finally, I got some books that I actually saw on Instagram. They're indie comics on Instagram, and they're so cool. And they're by a creator named Jorge Garza. And now I've mentioned this a number of times before that my wife's family, she's indigenous on her father's side from a tribe in Southern California. And so there's a lot of interest in the indigenous cultures and the Mesoamerican cultures from Central America and etc. And So I saw these and I had to get them. Two different titles. One's called Masa, and the other I'll show you in a minute. But let me start with Masa. It's the Mexican American Superhero Alliance, which is sort of like it's Mexican superheroes, and you can see this Lady Estrella. That's this woman up here flying, and then there's El Cerro Gigante, which is this guy here with the luchador mask. Iron Churro, who's got a giant iron churro for an arm. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Axolotl, which is this character here. And then Sugar Skull is the sort of Day of the Dead, Professor X, Metron sort of character here. So I love this. Now, I have to say, if I was doing this, I'm a very corny old man. I would have probably named it the Uncanny Mex-Men. But what are you going to do? I think this is cool too. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I haven't gotten around to reading it. It also says it's an activity book with puzzles and coloring pages, but I'm mostly interested in the comic book. But I just love the design of it. I love the look of it. It's just cool. But what's super cool and really just immediately, and like as soon as I saw these, I had to get them because this is just so cool. Again, I don't actually know how to pronounce this, so please forgive me. But Tetlactical? No, wait. Tetlactical. Anyway, the important part is they're basically sort of manga, like classic 70s, 80s manga style giant robot stories, except for the giant robot is actually a huge Aztec statue that was carved by like an Aztec deity. And there's two of these. This is versus the Army of Monsters, which is a giant 48-page special. But there's also the mini comics collection, which actually has a cover that is a partial that's an homage to the Avengers cover of Avengers Annual 10, which I love because most people I've seen talk about that cover hate it, but I actually like it too. So, but just check out how cool this is. It's a giant Aztec robot in space fighting kaiju. And I love the design of this cover too because it has a very sort of late 70s, 80s manga like design, like back in the 80s when you'd go to comic stores and you'd see the comics from Japan that were being printed, like reprinted in America, like Area 88 and stuff like Appleseed. This is what they looked like. So I saw these, just the idea of it and the covers, I was like, done. Don't have to say anything else. Sold. And so again, the creator's name is Jorge Garza. I was able to I saw this on Instagram. He had a link on his Instagram page. I'm sorry, I don't actually have his Instagram handle here, but if you search for this series here and his name there, I'm sure you'll find it. And there's a link there, and I could just bought them. I got them like inside of a week, and it's just really cool indie comics. Like this is indie comics, kind of at their best. Like this is what indie comics are made for, stuff like this. I just love it. So that's my little haul here. Boy, I talked a long time about not very many comics, but there's a lot to say because there's a lot of neat comics, even though there weren't very many of them. So let me know what you think down below. And again, join me on Friday for a live stream to celebrate the end of Quest 3. And hopefully by the time that is around, we'll have hit our funding goal. Otherwise, we're really going to be scrambling in the last hour. But I really hope we hit it because I can't wait to get this story out to you guys. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.